So another fight I want to talk about now is I want to go back to May of 1980 and your TK victory over Jimmy Young, who was best known for beating the likes of George Foreman and Ron Lyle. That type of fight, going into that, what was the confidence level of the fight with Jimmy Young, and how did you feel going into that?
I can't remember. Just can't remember. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding. So listen. So yeah, man. Are you kidding me? Jimmy Young wasn't the biggest of punchers. He was a good puncher, not a great puncher, and he had 9 victories leading up to my fight with him. So yeah, he was a beast.
Right.
He was awkward and annoying and aggravating, all those things that a guy with that style is. And it's hard to break it down. It's hard to adjust because he's so smart, right? He's a one good, smart technician, right? So I always knew that he was looking out for my left hook. He was a smart guy, right? So smart guy, smart guy. So I'm boxing him, and I'm out fighting him. I'm out fighting him. I got him on the ropes. I'm head hunting a little bit because I was a little bit green. I was trying to get him on the chin, right? And and so um, uh, Clancy made mention of that many times in that fight. Kill Clancy, and so I started to work the body and get inside, and I was looking for the hook. I kept missing, kept missing. He was blocking, he was blocking. He knew it was coming, and I turned the hook into an uppercut and split him between the eyes.
Right.
I almost passed out myself. I hate to say that. I'm a boxing guy, but no, he almost. It was like a terrible cut from a hook, from a glove. Can you believe that? It was like about 2 inch split between the eyes, and he started bleeding
Right.
bad.
He
And
was bleeding profusely in that fight for sure.
yeah,
It
and
was it was a fourth
so
round TKO.
fourth round, he couldn't come out. I think he came out for the third round. I beat him up,
Right.
and then the fourth round they stopped it, or and listen, that was a very. That's what Gil Clancy said. I just became a star
Right.
because that guy, no one looked good against him.
Including
And
Big George Foreman, where he boxed George Foreman pretty well. I mean, he did some things in that fight that not many people did against
yeah,
Foreman.
well,
So
that was God rest his soul too. He was a great guy. I hate to see that he just went alone when he got sick. We don't know what he had, but he went alone and died in a home somewhere where he lived. And
right,
we would have loved to, spend time and make him feel how great a guy. I guess he didn't even need that. He was so spiritual, and he just I always it always disappointed me that we didn't get a chance to spend any time to say goodbye. You know what I mean?
right.
So anyway, I get that victory, and it was a great victory in Atlantic City, and I felt like I was on my way
So
from
the
that fight. I worked through a lot of barriers, found a lot of openings, looked for them, made adjustments, could listen to my corner, and get going. That was I learned that myself that night.
right. So then after that fight, you were staying pretty active in 1980 at the end of the year in around October.
No, let me tell you something. That's not true because I had unfortunately I was signed with King.
Right,
I wasn't signed with King, so King was keeping me out. He didn't want me to mess up. He didn't want me to either lose a fight or mess up the chances of the. He didn't want me to gain the experience I needed. So if I got a shot at Holmes, I would be more available. I would be more a professional. Do you understand that
right.
experience is such a
Yeah,
big factor in boxing?
absolutely.
So I was kept away from that, and my managers, I believe, also wanted the big payday. They weren't caring really that much about if I was going to grow up as a fighter, right?
Right,
That's how I felt, and so not at that time. I was like a young kid. The world was going by so fast; it was hard to hold on, especially in light of not trusting a soul, not even them really. I couldn't trust anybody, and except for I love my trainer. And I had a couple of friends from school I grew up with uh, that I palled around with, and one of the guys was George Munch, who was a condition coach for me. Richie Baratheon was a great trainer. He was a black belt 8 different styles, and um, so I had those guys we could hang around with, and they kind of kept me level headed. You know what I mean?
Right. But you did fight after the fight with
Jimmy Young.
with Jimmy Young in October of 1980, same year. You TKO Ron Lyle in the first round
Yeah.
in Nassau Coliseum in your hometown. So I mean, after that, I mean, you had to feel like you were on top of the world.
Well, listen, let's face it. Ron Lyle was a little older. I mean, he
Right.
was a big, big puncher, a tough guy. He told me he's gonna if he has to crawl across the floor on his hands and knees, he's gonna get me. I said, "Oh shit, oh shit." So anyway, we go to the Coliseum. It's my hometown. It's great experience, right? I love it. And the guy I told you who traveled with me to find a good manager and was looking for health insurance for me, what a nice guy. I'm still friendly with him. And he told me that night, he said, listen, when you knock this guy out, he said, I want you to reach out there and touch that crowd. And I really didn't understand what he meant about it at that time. Then we train and we're training out there in Long Island. The fight comes along. I get in the ring. I hit him with that body shot. It wasn't no TKO. I knocked him out of the ring, bro.
Right.
He broke a couple of ribs, fell out. And what that guy said to me in that moment, and me growing up as a man, I could reach out and touch the crowd. And man, I felt like we were just so connected. And it was the greatest experience of my life going up to that time. Right?
Right.
Now you got to understand also how I started boxing. Also was I used to go to the bus stop in the morning when I was a kid, and I'd bring 2 sets of boxing gloves, and I'd box the kids on the bus stop. That's how I got my. I broke into boxing. So anyway, yeah, I knocked out Ron Lyle, and pretty easily. I was vicious
Right.
at that time. I was a vicious guy. I was training, and I was like an angry guy. I was working really hard in the gym, taking care of myself good, and he just ran into the wrong guy that night. He was very, a good guy. We left and we met up, and and then I moved on. I turned the page, and I was getting more attention, more traction, and you know, but realistically, in my head, I'm still very humble. I'm not believing the news. I'm not doing any of that stuff because of where I came from. And a lot of people can identify with that. I don't know if you can, but when you grow up in a struggle like that, you're no good, you're a failure, you're not going to. That's what you're told. That's what you believe.
Right.
And so, but anyway, listen, I'm very grateful for who I am today and where I went and how I got there. And I'll do it again
Right.
if this is what it can be. I can be here with you today and telling the folks how it really was like.
Right. And doing it very accurately. So that's definitely
Well,
something that I can
thank
appreciate.
you.
Lyle was a super intimidating guy. I remember one of my first memories of Lyle, and obviously I'm not, old enough to be watching him when he was active, but I went back and I watched all the old school fights, and I remember watching him against George Foreman and just being amazed on
Yeah.
how intimidating Lyle was, just in that stare down alone, and then the type of fight he had with Foreman. What was the intimidation factor like with Lyle going into the fight? Did you have any of those thoughts like in the
Hey,
back of your
listen,
head?
I was growing up through this whole process. I was having to become a man, and I was determined to get to the body. Like I don't understand these guys today in the ring, they're fighting. For me, I get to the body. I work that body. I get inside. I bang. They can't hit me back. I get grip, punch, 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 grab them, step to the right. Now with this knowledge I have, but I was still devastating, vicious guy. I had to get you. I had no choice. I had no options. It was my only option.
Right.
And there's a lot of stress involved with that. But I had a lot of good people, a lot of fans I grew up with, a lot of fans I developed through the world. I mean, I was thinking about this, like I'm getting inducted into the Nevada Hall of Fame.
Right.
And my fight with Larry Holmes was shown in 151 countries.
Yeah.
So, and it's pretty amazing. But at the time, I couldn't feel those things. I wasn't allowing myself to feel that way because, it was trouble.
Right.
I had to
So
keep fighting and how to keep moving. I had to keep focused as best I could. You know what I mean?
right. In other words, you didn't have time to be intimidated by a guy like Lyle. You knew you had to handle your business.
I had to fight. I knew that. I
Right.
mean, I tell the story. I think I just told you this. They knock on the door. They say, "Cooney, you're next." And the next thing you think is, "Oh shit!" And
Right.
then you walk down this empty corridor, and it's deathly silent. And you got your hands on your trainer, and then they open the door, and you hear the roar of the crowd,
Right.
and that's when the magic happens. That's when you figure it all out. From there to that walk to the ring, you
Right.
make the adjustments. You get it. It's in your head. There's no thinking maybe this, maybe that. No, this is what I got. I get chills now telling you that.
Right. There's
And it
no
was no
time for
different.
doubt. There's no time for doubt at that point.
No,
You're ready. You're
no.
ready there and there. So after that fight with Lyle, which was a very impressive first round knockout, you had to me, which was probably the best win and one of my favorite knockouts, and that's over the great Ken Norton, who you absolutely destroyed inside of a minute. That was also in Madison Square Garden. So,
Right.
what were your like what was the feeling going into a fight with a guy like Ken Norton, a very big, imposing guy? He beat Muhammad Ali, and he was a bit of a superstar at that time
Yeah,
in
not a very nice
1991.
man. Not a very nice man. He
Really,
was Mandingo, bro. He was Mandingo. He looked like everything and more.
right,
And he was a tough guy. He was a tough guy. What I didn't understand about him until I got into the ring was that if you back him up, he can't get off. I didn't get that till I was in the ring.
right,
And it was my job to take control, and I backed him up. He couldn't get off. And then he threw a few punches, and I hit him with a shot, and he buckled a little bit I spun him into the corner. And once I spun him into the corner, these are all the great tools that Victor Valley gave me, by the way. The lessons I learned from him and his experience with all his time in the fight game and all the great fighters he worked with. And I spun him into the corner, and I caught him with an uppercut, and he went limp. But he was sitting on the ropes. You know what I'm saying?
right.
But you're taught in the fight game, when you catch somebody, you don't back off.
Yeah, there's no timeouts in boxing. That's what I
Right.
tell
So
everybody,
I
including the
went
referee and
four
everything.
more shots before the referee. He was a great referee, but he used to let the fights go on too long, in my opinion. And in every front page of the news that day, that next day, it said 4 punches from death.
Right,
And I believe that was true
right,
because he was out sitting on the rope. He couldn't fall down. And I was kind of, I was in my fight mode, right? There's no stopping me then, right?
right. Yeah,
And that could have been a tragedy.
right. The ref should have jumped in after. I think the first two or three punches, you could tell that
He was sleeping on the
Ken,
road. He was
right,
sleeping.
Ken Norton was out, and then there was about three or four shots after that I think the referee could have jumped in.
Listen, I tell this story. I'm in Palm Springs, California. Great, loved it out there. Um, and I'm training for Norton in the Garden, and I'm training hard, running in the mountains and all that. Everything's going good. And this guy comes to the training camp. He's 181, and he's a big black dude. I mean, he was like a monster, right? And he brings 150 people come to the camp. We had a big Palm Canyon uh, put us a big tent, a giant tent out there, big white tent. And he came in, there was 150 people with him. And he wanted to box Gerry Cooney. So they went to my trainer. My trainer said, okay, come on down tomorrow and we'll, box. So he comes down. My trainer says, get dressed. No boxing today. So he gets dressed and my trainer's watching him, right? So then we don't box. Next day he comes back, says, okay, now work the floor today. And my trainer watches him. And the third day he says, okay, get dressed. So there's 150 people there. His name was Zeke, right? And everybody's yelling in the audience, go, Zeke, go, Zeke, go, right? And I hit him with a left hook on the chin. His ass was up in the air and he was snoring. He was snoring, the guy.
Wow.
And the crowd went deathly silent. And my friend, that karate guy I told you about, said, go, Zeke, go.
Right.
It was one of the funniest things you heard. And they slowly left. And those are some great experiences I have. I had guys come into the gym say, I've been in contracting all my life. I just can't make it. I want to fight you. And, I tell them, stop, stop, stop. And then they would piss my trainer off. And my trainer said, get in there. And I know, they'd make me angry because they were trying to hurt me. And I'd hit them and put them down. And then that kind of stuff would go on a lot. But anyway, it's been such a great experience. All the people I've met. I think about I look at my phone book, right? In my phone, and like it's just your life in film and in
Right.
pictures and thousands of pictures. I told you I have a picture in my wall that was given to me of me and Frank Sinatra, me and Bob Hope. I mean, all the greatest people in the world,
Right.
Muhammad Ali. And those are the gifts that we get from this game. And I get to share all that every day of my life. I'm on the radio a couple of days a week with Randy Gordon on Sirius XM, the greatest show, radio station there is, and I love everything I do. I've got a great wife, great family, three great kids, a grandpa. I'm a grandpa one time, and my kids can all fight. I would never want them to fight, but
Right.
I have a daughter that's 5'11". She made it to the finals of the what do they call that? The Rockettes
Okay.
without any training. I have a son that's an engineer. He can fight. I told him one time he hit the bag with a right. I said, "Don't ever hit nobody with that." And my oldest son is a MMA guy. So, listen, we find a way. And had I taken all those fights, I might not be feeling so good today. I might be struggling with life, and I couldn't enjoy all this time. And I think God kind of looked out for me for all the struggles I had been through my life.
Right. Yeah, because I must say, out of a lot of the old school fighters that I met, you're definitely one of the sharpest ones, for
Well,
sure.
thank you. Tell him I got to give you my wife's number. You got to call her.
So I want to talk about the big one next. I want to talk about June of '82. Uh,
Slowly I turned. Slowly I turned.
versus Larry Holmes at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. I just watched this fight
Wow.
recently again for like the 10th time.
Wow.
I watched all the pre-fight stuff. I watched the Legendary Night stuff, which was an absolutely amazing episode. There was a lot of the racial undertones going into this fight. Obviously, Don King is big with hyping all that nonsense up.
I'm sure Rapport and Jones are feeding into it
Right,
too. But
right,
I'm going to tell you something, not Larry and not me.
right,
I mean, I was mad at him because he was mad at me, but had nothing to do with us.
right. Yeah, it was a lot of
And
the managers. It seemed like.
the greatest thing he said to me was when we were in the center of the ring, he said, Jerry, let's have a good fight.
Right,
And after the fight, I felt lousy. I felt like I wasn't supposed to lose this and that, but I didn't even take care of myself. And I met him a couple weeks later in Atlantic City. He said, come on, sit down. We spent a couple of days together. We had a great time, and we've been best friends ever since.
right. That's awesome. Yeah, it seemed like in that fight, you kind of were changing the style at it. It almost seemed like you were always a seek and destroy type of guy with massive power. And that fight, it seemed like you were kind of on the back foot and a little tentative to come forward. Was that a strategy that you had, or
Well,
you were unsure about going all the rounds and stuff like
Well,
that?
yeah, I had smoked cigarettes back then. Like, listen, he was the heavyweight champion. Do you know he's the top 5 or top 3 of the greatest heavyweights of all time? And I'm
Absolutely.
fighting him for the heavyweight championship of the world. And he's the real deal. And he was in his prime.
Right.
And so he was angry with me. And I remember one time we were in Detroit when Holmes fought Leon Spinks. And after the fight, Howard Cosell says, hey, why don't we get Larry to come over? You two get together and talk about the fight. And Larry Holmes knocked off Howard Cosell's wig and was trying to get to me. And I thought to myself, oh, shit, this is serious now.
Right, right. I think I seen the clip on that. Right.
It was so great, though. I mean, looking back on it, all the stuff that we went through.
Right.
And, and then we get into the ring before the bell, and he says, let's have a good fight, man. That's what a heavyweight champion does. And he was the greatest. I love him then. I love him today. And I really respect everything he's done in this game and with the people in his life.
Right. And I think they said there was two judges that had you ahead on the cards, but not counting the points that Mills Lane
Took
deducted,
away.
which
Well, he
I
was pulling my
thought,
head down. So
yeah,
Larry Holmes is a smart guy, right? He knows I'm a body puncher. He told me I heard him a couple times during that fight, but he's a smart guy.
Right.
So Mills Lane was on that side. He pulled my head down, and the shot went low. I got 3 points taken away. I never had any points taken away from me.
Right.
It kind of killed me too
Yeah,
because I
I
felt
agree with
now
one of them. I don't know the three him taking 3 points, and it was kind of weird how they did it back then too. They didn't really grab the boxer, take him by his arm, and take him to the center of the ring, and then kind of tell each judge.
shame him a little bit. They kind of shame him a little bit, right?
Right, right. And they tell
But
each
he was
judge
pulling
take
my
his time.
head down.
Right,
Look at the fight again, you'll see.
right,
But that's what he's supposed to do.
right,
You know what I mean? If I'm fighting a tremendous body shotter, I'm going to pull him down too. I'm going to keep him off balance. You know, if I work with this guy, he's 300 pounds, big, tough guy. I mean, a bad dude. And I boxed with him, and he plays around me once in a while. He says, "You know, you are so strong." And all I'm doing is keeping him off balance the whole time. I'm not letting him set. I pull him this way, I pull him that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's a gift that you get in boxing. And
right.
that's what Holmes was doing. He's so experienced. And that kind of killed me because my inexperience. So wow, I can't win 3 points taken away from me. I never saw that before.
Right,
And I loved Mills Lane, but I didn't love what he did that night.
right,
But anyway, listen, I'm not ashamed to say it. Larry Holmes was a better fighter than me that night.
right.
Could I have could I have, you know, had better people around me? I don't know why God made me direct me this way he did, but he did. And I'm satisfied with it. I had a lot of shame all my life about it. I don't anymore. Listen, I was a great fighter. I was a good fighter. I belonged in there. Did I make mistakes? Who doesn't?
Right.
I made some big mistakes. I picked the wrong man. I would have wished I could have had Bob Arum as a manager, promoter. Because what he does, he puts 3 or 4 great fighters in the ring with you every as sparring partners, and you all develop. I didn't have that. Looking back, there's a lot of things I didn't have, but today I made peace. I made peace, and I love to tell people, listen, man, how you doing today? What's up? Good. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, so Victor Valley jumped in the 13th round and stopped
Yeah.
the bout. Did you think like it was necessary to stop it, or could you finish out the next two
You know,
rounds?
I was tired as hell. I was weakened. You know, he's a smart guy, the Holmes. He's not a dummy. He didn't become a champ for 7.5 years because he was a dummy. He was a very smart guy,
Right,
and he was used also. I feel like in his with his management and all that in his life. But yeah, he was a great fighter, and I was kind of tired. It was. Let me just tell you something. It was 120 degrees there.
in Vegas.
I
Yeah,
never
that's
experienced that either.
right,
At least I have a lot of great experiences. And listen, had I gotten those fights, maybe I wouldn't be here today.
right,
Maybe I couldn't have the children and the beautiful wife and the life I have. I saved my money. I always knew there was a rainy day coming.
right,
And I had a great friend of mine, God rest his soul, who owned 3 seats on the stock exchange. He was in the Golden Gloves. He asked me to train his kid, and I did. And he put me in touch with his finance person. And it's been a happy road all the way down.
right.
So, you know, who knows? God is great. God is great. God is great.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking too, because that was the first time you went. I think even past 6 rounds, six or 7 rounds.
No, I
You,
went 8 rounds with Animal Lopez. Remember Animal Lopez?
okay, yeah, early on, yeah, you went 8 rounds him, right? You went
And he was a
decision, I
tough
believe.
guy.
Right.
He
Do
was
you
a
think?
tough guy. Animal Lopez. I scared that guy.
Right. Do
I
you
kicked his ass, bro. I brought him back as a sparring partner after that. He didn't last very long.
really? Do you think maybe if you took a fight like before the Holmes fight, that can kind of give you rounds, like
Yeah, I wish
maybe
I had
go
5 fights. I wish I had
15
five
rounds
more
or something?
fights.
Right. So I think that could have
But
helped you
but
going the way
King
there.
didn't want me to get the experience, and
Right.
I feel that way. And my management wanted the big payday.
Right.
So they picked the perfect guy because I really didn't, I tell people today, listen, take your contract to the commission and tell them to please go over it and tell me what I'm doing. What am I getting myself into? They
Right.
didn't do that back in the day. Oh, I'll fix your bill. I'll take care of this. I'll do that. Okay, here's a car. Here's I'll help you buy your house. Yeah, they won. It was not their money. It was my money.
Right.
But that happens, right?
And it was the biggest purse in boxing history up until the time. I think it was a $10 million purse that you received that night, which
Well, yeah, it turned out to be 8.5. And but
okay,
still, I knew that I was a safe man. I knew how it was to be poor. I
right,
grew up poor,
right,
and I saw poor all my life.
right.
And then my wife graduated NYU. She's a financial analyst. Damn, I'm picking up these great people all along the way.
You're a lucky man.
And then I fell in love with her, and she fell in love with me. And and listen, I was a spoiled athlete in some ways.
Right,
Give me this. Everybody gave me everything. Then I had to work for a relationship, right?
right. So then after the Holmes fight, you took 2 years off, right? And
I disappeared. I was
right,
disillusioned. I was so upset. I was starting to hear things about the management team that I was with and what was going on, and those kinds of things that really disappointed me. And they were always trying to get me to fight again, and I didn't really care. But then I got sober. April of '88. I put down alcohol, cigarettes, everything,
right,
and so I was you know I was addicted to alcohol. It was a what do you call it? They call it it's a disease. It's a disease like cancer that it tears you apart, makes you believe you can do it, but you can't. And I took me a long time. I grew up in a family like that, and I tell the story that when I was 12, I had a bottle of Boone's. I hated drinking because of my father, but at 12, I was uncomfortable with life, and I had a bottle of Boone's Farm apple wine. I got so sick that night at 12. But when I woke up the next morning, I thought to myself, shit, where has this been all my life? The big hole that we carry around in our soul went away. I felt like fit in. I felt attractive. The girls liked me. I felt comfortable. And that was the devil. That was the evilness of that disease. That thank God in April 21st, 1988, I put it down for good, and I had the greatest life of all, the greatest life, and I love every minute of it. And there's good and bad people in the world, and you know. You don't have to, as you get better and more healthy, you don't have to attract the sickness. You can help them if you can, but you don't have to be attracted to it anymore. And that's what my gift was
right.
from where I came, my path.
So then, after the Holmes fight, you were out for 2 years and 2 months, and you came back and you fought a very viable opponent in Philip Brown, who was 23-0 at the time. You knocked him out, I believe, with a body shot too. I believe. I know you
Yeah,
spoke
I
to
hit
him.
him with some great shots. I was up in Alaska up there. I remember
Right,
running
Anchorage.
I remember running one day up in the mountains, and they were photographing a Playboy bunny shoot in the snow.
Wow.
Needless to say, I stopped for a few minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And so yes, I fought him in Anchorage. I remember in Anchorage they had this old lady had a pet deer in the yard, fenced in. It was such a and the people were great up there too. And so yeah, I had a great fight up there. To I went to Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, and it was a scary place there. I had some black spawn parties were afraid to go out because the Ku Klux Klan was there.
wow.
But we trained and we had a good time. Came back, I knocked him out, and it was a great experience. And then I fought George Chaplin, who
Right,
was a beast. Who was a beast.
right. Chaplin beat Ernie Shavers as
He
well.
was a beast, that guy, and I didn't really get it. But he came out and hit me with a couple of shots in that first round. I said, "What? I better get this shit together. I want to look at one thing. I'm gonna get you, bro."
Right, and you knocked him out in the second round,
I
and
caught him with a couple of body shots and a headshot and put him out. But yeah, so that was that. And then who do I fight next?
yeah, and then there was a bit of a layoff. It was almost like a 2 year layoff, and then you fought in May of '86. you fought Eddie Gregg and you knocked him out in the first round, who was also a fellow New Yorker, two-time Golden Gloves champion.
Yeah, Tommy. I forget his manager's name. He was this Irish guy. Had managed him, and so we go to San Francisco. It's a small ring. It's a 18 for 16 or 18-foot ring. He didn't care. Tommy Gallagher. And he sent Eddie Gregg, who was a boxer, was undefeated, to slug it out with me. And I knocked him out.
Right.
So I
In the
asked
first round.
after the fight, I asked him, "What'd you do that for?" He says, "I don't care. I want to be famous." And so I knocked this guy out in the first round. And I'm still, I'm just kind of, like feeling my way. I still don't really care anymore about that stuff. I'm using boxing in some ways like a way to keep myself a little busy. You know what I mean? To try and find out my path, where I need to go, what I want to do, what I want to make of myself. Right?
Right.
And that's what happened. So I knock him out, and then '87 comes along, and I'm supposed to fight Michael Spinks, and Michael Spinks, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. I had to go to Vegas for a lawsuit, and I'm skiing at the time. But anyway, so I'm not taking care of myself. I don't believe the fight's going to happen. And then, obviously, the fight gets made. I'm not in greatest shape in the world, and I get stopped. And listen, Michael Spinks, I'll say it to you, I'll say it to anybody. In my day, Michael Spinks couldn't be in the ring with me. But he got a sick guy. He got a guy that was addicted to alcohol and nicotine, and I wasn't taking care of myself. And I'm not. Listen, I feel a little bit. That guy, I cut him. I cut him out this inch and a half in between the eyes. Nobody laughs like that. But I was a shot guy in that day, and I obviously didn't train that well for the fight, and I got stopped, but it helped me to turn the page in my life. That make sense to you? Like, I've been trying to figure out, where do I want to do? Where am I going? Who do I ask? And that fight really helped me to turn the page in life and figure I got to get moving now. I got to figure out what I want to do, who I want to be, get married or have a family, find some type of a career. And that was the message that I got from that.
Right. And listen, Spinks was a great fight. I mean, he beat
Nah,
Rodriguez twice.
not for me. We shouldn't have been a big fighter for me.
Right.
I just was a walking dead man in there by the time I got in there.
Right. And what was the reason for? I know he had. I think he had a world title at the time. But was there any other thoughts about maybe trying to challenge for a different title, like in the mid '80s? The '80s had a lot of champions, and there was a lot of guys that I think that if you would have matched up with, I think you would have came out on top. And
I listen. They went that route, whatever it was. It looked like it looked to me. I mean, he was a good Olympic gold medal, a lot of championship belts. I don't think he really beat Holmes personally,
right,
but you got to take the belt. He didn't do that, and so I just, that's the route they went, and I followed along like I did, and the rest is history.
right, because there was a lot
And
of
I
guys,
got
the Tony Tuckers, the Bone Crusher Smiths,
Oh yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Greg Pages, and all those
But
type
they
of
weren't they
guys.
weren't the value. I don't think there was a value that this guy had on them. You know what I mean?
Right, I guess because of the
And could you
window was
imagine
so.
fighting this year, in this era, with over there? And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be drinking if I was fighting over there and making that kind of money, bro. I'd be in shape. I'd be some kick ass shape.
Right, in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
cutting checks today that they never did before.
yeah.
In the heavyweight game. So after the Spinks fight, you had a little bit of brief retirement, and I
Well,
know
that was June '87,
yes,
and I take some time off, and 6 months later, I put down alcohol. That was April 21st. Oh no, it was April 21st. So what was that? Um, I, I put down the booze. I put down and I get my life. I start going on track. I starting to grow up, and I did a bunch of things and uh, to become healthy and to live the right way and to make the right decisions. And I was meeting a better quality of people, and I was able to move on and grow up and become a useful, successful. member in this world, and to help people that struggle with problems like that, alcoholism and sickness, and bring awareness to those problems to help them maybe get a cure.
Right. When in that time in the late '80s, was there ever any talks about fighting Iron Mike Tyson?
No.
No.
Well, if I had beaten Spinks, I would have beat Fort Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, it just didn't come about. It happened the way it did, and I'm okay with it. Like I've been going to a bunch of. I got inducted to a couple of Hall of Fames. I'm going out to Vegas. I'm getting inducted into the Vegas Hall of Fame in August,
Right.
and I kind of sit back and think about it. And I did some great things, and I was smart on my own, and had some nice people at that time in my life, and I'm excited about my future.
Right.
And
I
going
think
into the Hall of Fame, it's a big statement for me because I did make a good statement. I did fight with my heart. I only thing I fought was my heart, and you know, we all make mistakes, right? And I'm sorry, but it's over.
right. Yes, it was a great career. I think you should be in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, in my opinion. I think you had a very good heavyweight career, and I think you definitely deserve the honors to be in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. But it's great to
Well,
get into the Vegas Hall of Fame as well.
I got to tell you something. I'm going to send you a video. I mean, I had a guy on our radio show this past week who was talking about that with Randy Gordon, and about that I was not just a fighter. There was something else, some other kind of thing I had. Let me see if I can find it here for you, and I'm going to send it to you. Yeah, it's web. It's a web. It says, boom, boom, boom. Excuse me one second. It's Rick Glazer. Do you know who that is?
I think I heard the name.
Well, I'm going to send this to you, and you listen to it, and you can call me back and tell me what you think. But he made a lot of sense. Like, listen, I was not the greatest fighter in history. I was a good fighter. I made mistakes. I help people all the time because of those mistakes. So maybe they can, you know, have a better life sooner.
Right.
And I love all those people. I made millions and millions and millions of people. I had Frank Sinatra in my corner, Bob Hope. I was on the Bob Hope special. I've done so many things. I had my mother on a commercial for shaving. I mean, isn't he a knockout? I can still think about that now.
Right.
And those kinds of things that most people don't get. But those people, the things I did, I share that with the people. If you can understand that. But we were in that together. I remember running all my life, and the sanitation trucks would be beeping horns at me. And it was because I was a working man's fighter.
Right.
I came up hard. I came up difficult.
Right.
And we all make mistakes, right? I can't be shamed for it for the rest of my life.
Right. Of course not. So I would like to talk about the last fight of your career, January 1990. I know you did some promoting, before that. You promoted some George Foreman's fights,
Yeah.
and then you wanted to fight in Foreman in Atlantic City, dubbed the Preacher versus the Puncher. What was it going into the fight with Big George Foreman? How was the experience of that?
Listen, I was sober. I'd gotten sober, so I felt like shit, man. I could do this now. And I was, I joined a company, Jeff Levine and Michael, a few guys, and we're doing fights. And one of the guys we were doing was George Foreman. So that was when he was fighting the bum of the twice a month. He was fighting and all that,
The Bum of the
get,
Month tour.
getting the rust off him and all that stuff.
Right.
And it was good. One day he came up to me and said, "Jerry, why don't you and I fight?" And I thought to myself, "What the hell?" Like I'm not fighting anymore. I don't want to fight. But I thought, you know what? I'm sober. I haven't drank in a year. I can go into training and really get in shape. And I did it. And I came in way too light, but I got caught with a shot. Now, if you talk to him and we can't talk to him no more, but if you talk to David Letterman, he told Letterman I was the hardest puncher that ever hit him.
Right.
And so he caught me with a shot. And I think I was just too newly with the drink. I didn't grow up enough from that. I was still not paying attention enough, and I took the fight. I thought I had a shot to win, and I got stopped. Another payday, and uh, closed the page, and moved on. And he came on with us. We were on the radio show, Randy Gordon and I, when Muhammad Ali died, and he said one of the most beautiful prayers I ever heard. And and he's a great man, and he wasn't to me, he wasn't the most light and airy personality, but he grew up hard. Somewhere he grew up hard because he went to Africa. Didn't he go to Africa on that with those guys, troubled kids or something? Forget what it was called.
Yeah, I believe when he did his preaching, he went out there and he went.
Before then, no, before, when he was young, I think before he went to the Olympics, he went to Africa to help the people and goodwill, the goodwill.
Okay, right, right.
He did goodwill, and I think he learned a lot about himself. But I think he always carried that anger inside of him. And listen, he was a big man, big puncher, and I loved I got in there with him. He hit me with an uppercut and helped me to get on with life, and I went on.
Right,
And we're here. Thank God I'm here with you today.
right.
I wish I could get my hands on you, bro. Just one time.
Well, next
Anyway,
time
where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Staten Island. I live in Staten Island.
Beautiful, bro.
Right.
So, listen, I had a great time
Yeah,
walking through memory lane with you, and I hope you get to show it and listen to people listen to it, and don't give up on life. Keep asking the question, can you help me?
right,
I go to an orphanage, I go to troubled kids, and I tell these kids, listen, I tell them my story. I'm the same as you. Or if when I go to prisons, I tell the guys in prison, listen, I speak in prisons a lot if I can. And I tell the guys, listen, I'm the same as you. I didn't shoot nobody. I didn't rob the bank. I didn't stab nobody, but I self-sacrificed me. And I didn't get the help I needed to to get out of here, to get out of this head I'm in. And you're doing the same thing. You have to stop. You have to put down the drugs and the alcohol and ask for help. And as long as you keep asking, people help you. And I tell a lot of kids, listen, go to the post office, sort mail in the summer. You let them get to know you're a good guy. You get a retirement plan. You get a good salary. You get vacation pay. You don't have to make it a career, but go there for a few years till you figure out what you want to do. That's not a bad story, right? Or make a list of what you're interested in and then ask for help on how to get there. No one's telling, no one's talking about it. Nobody's saying it. No one's putting a voice to it.
right.
The world is messed up today.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I hope I didn't go out of my bounds, but um, I love talking to you.
Right. Yeah, you had this was a great episode. I just want to apologize because I wish I had my video up. I
Me
don't know what
too. Me
happened.
too.
I did this a few times already, and it worked every time. And now all of a sudden, it's saying something about an update, so I probably have to shut it down. But I didn't want to,
I hope you got it taped.
change the interview. Yeah, I definitely got a recording, so I'm gonna have it out. I'm gonna send it to your email, or I'll send it to
Good.
your phone, and I hope to get you on again at some point. And hey,
Anytime.
I would really love to get maybe you and Larry together, and maybe we could just do a
Anytime.
special with you
Anytime.
two guys. So I just want to say thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
brother.
Cooney, and I look forward to seeing you again. And
Person. Great.
enjoy the
I'm
rest
gonna
of
I'm
your.
gonna send you this little video and you tell me what you think of it, okay?
Absolutely. Thank
All
you,
right,
Jerry.
brother. Thank you guys. Peace, babe. Peace out.
All right. Have a good night.
Love you, buddy. See ya.